Samuel Carter had always been a man of quiet habits. The rising sun was his alarm, and the smell of dew on the fields was his morning perfume. His life on the sprawling farmland had been simple for as long as he could remember. Tending the crops, feeding the cattle, repairing fences, and keeping the barn spotless. He enjoyed the solitude, the comforting rhythm of his days, and the silence that allowed his thoughts to wander freely. Most men in the county sought adventure, social gatherings, and romance, but Samuel never did. He was a shy, introspective soul, more comfortable in the company of horses than humans, more at ease with the rhythm of the seasons than the unpredictable tides of emotion. Yet deep down, buried beneath years of routine, there was a longing he did not yet have the courage to name, a yearning for connection, for a story to break the monotony, for a life that felt larger than the boundaries of his farm. That morning, like every other, Samuel stepped out into the chill air, his breath forming small clouds as he walked toward the barn. The horizon glowed with soft gold and orange hues, painting the fields in warmth. He hummed quietly to himself as he checked the fences, his hands rough and calloused but precise and gentle. The cattle stirred lazily, and the wind whispered through the tall grasses. Everything seemed perfectly ordinary, until a sudden, sharp rustle in the tree line caught his attention. Samuel froze, squinting through the morning haze, trying to discern the source. At first, he thought it was merely a deer or perhaps a stray fox, but then the movement became too deliberate, too cautious, to be a wild animal. From behind the shadowed trees, a figure emerged, small, lithe, moving with both stealth and urgency. Samuel's heart raced, his instinct telling him to retreat. Yet another, stronger impulse kept him rooted in place. The figure stepped into the light, and he saw her clearly for the first time. She was a young woman, her dark hair cascading in loose waves down her back, her eyes wide and wary. And her clothing, though simple, spoke of a heritage far different from his own. She was Apache. Samuel's chest tightened. Her gaze met his, and in that instant, he felt something stir, a combination of empathy, fear, and an inexplicable pull toward her. She was alone, exhausted, and evidently running from danger, though he could not yet see what threatened her. Samuel called softly, "Come here." Quickly. His voice was hesitant, barely louder than a whisper, but it seemed enough. The woman approached, her steps cautious, her eyes scanning for threats, and then, as if sensing the safety he offered, she allowed herself to follow him to the barn. Once inside, the barn's warm, dusty interior enveloped them, and Samuel quickly fetched a blanket and some water. She accepted both without a word, her eyes conveying gratitude, fear, and relief all at once. Samuel, normally reserved and tongue-tied, found himself speaking gently, reassuringly, though he had no real plan. He simply knew he could not let her leave. Something in him demanded he protect her, even at the risk of his own safety. Days passed, each one stretching Samuel's courage in ways he had never imagined. He reinforced hiding places in the barn, checking for cracks and gaps through which prying eyes might see. He became hyper-aware of every sound, the snap of a twig outside, the distant echo of hooves, the creak of the wind against the barn doors. Yet despite the constant tension, there were moments of quiet wonder. The woman, whose name he learned was Iona, began to speak to him in fragments of her language, sharing small pieces of her world, her people, and her life before she had fled. Samuel listened, captivated, learning not only about her heritage but about a perspective on life he had never known existed. Each story she told seemed to illuminate something within him, a sense of courage, hope, and longing that had been dormant for years. As the weeks passed, a delicate routine emerged. Samuel brought her food and water, and in return, she taught him words, customs, and even simple songs from her people. They spoke without judgment, sharing moments of laughter, moments of quiet contemplation, and moments of silent understanding. Samuel began to feel emotions he had never dared acknowledge, pride in his small acts of protection, warmth in her smile, and a tender longing whenever she stepped near. Iona, for her part, seemed to recognize the purity of Samuel's intentions. Though initially cautious and guarded, she began to open up, revealing pieces of herself she had kept hidden from the world. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the horizon, painting the sky in shades of crimson and violet, Iona spoke of the dangers that had forced her into hiding. Rival factions, she explained, sought to capture her for reasons tangled in honor, tradition, and old disputes. Her voice quivered as she recounted narrow escapes, moments when she thought she would be caught, moments when fear had nearly overcome her courage. Samuel felt a surge of protective instinct unlike anything he had ever known. He realized then that his quiet, measured life was no longer sufficient. He had become a guardian, a participant in a story that was larger than himself, one that demanded courage, creativity, and perhaps even the willingness to face danger head-on. Yet, amid the fear and tension, there was also an undeniable connection blossoming between them. Samuel felt it in the gentle way she looked at him, in the moments when she laughed softly at his awkward attempts to speak her language, in the quiet evenings when they watched the stars together from the loft of the barn. Each shared glance, each unspoken word, seemed to build a bridge between two worlds, his, rooted in routine and caution, and hers, vibrant, dynamic, and fraught with peril. Their bond became a refuge, a source of strength in the face of uncertainty. But danger was never far away. Samuel knew that if anyone discovered Iona, the consequences could be dire. He heightened his vigilance, checking the perimeter, reinforcing doors, and listening intently to every sound of the wind, the trees, and the distant hills. Every shadow held the potential of discovery, every unexpected noise a harbinger of doom. And yet, for all the tension, there was joy too, quiet, understated, yet profound. It was in the moments they shared simple meals, in the hushed conversations in the hayloft, in the way their hands brushed while passing water or blankets. The barn, once merely a place of work, had become a sanctuary, a cocoon where two souls could connect in secrecy, far from the eyes of the world. As the nights grew longer and the air colder, their connection deepened. Samuel found courage he had never known before, standing guard for her with a determination that surprised even himself. Iona, sensing his sincerity and the depth of his care, began to trust him fully, revealing fears, dreams, and stories that had been hidden from everyone else. Together, they navigated the delicate balance of secrecy and trust, of fear and affection, and though neither spoke it aloud, both felt the stirrings of a bond that could not easily be broken, a bond forged in the quiet moments, in the shared risks, and in the undeniable human need for connection.